Testing, 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 testing.
I was looking to see if I was going to do the Wizard of Oz. So, if I were king of the forest,
Whoa! What a lion! That's amazing.
there you
Wait
go.
till you listen to yourself.
Oh boy, here we go.
Are we live? We're good now? Oh, yeah. Welcome to the Arena Podcast. This is the Arena Podcast, the Arena Path.
Dude.
We will cut that out, please.
No, we won't. I'm leaving it on.
No,
I am so leaving it on. Listen, the last time I did it, I screwed it up and I kept it in. So you know what? You screwed this one up.
Terrible.
I'm keeping it in. It sounds awesome. It just shows that we're human.
Welcome to the Arena Podcast with Gabe and Walt. I am Gabe. That was Walt and is Walt if we're going to keep this on.
Yeah, man. Ghetto superstar. That is what you are.
This is the podcast where you get to listen to two New York sports fans. We're going to talk everything going on in the sports world today. And you know, with a little bit of a New York flair and flavor. So, but before we begin, want to thank you guys for tuning in and listening. Please like, rate, share, and subscribe to the podcast, our social media stuff, Twitter, Instagram, everything, anything that you can find out there with us. You can find our links on Instagram, and yeah, let's get this show on the road or on the air.
Yeah, man.
I guess on the interwebs,
on the airwaves,
the interwebs.
Yeah, I guess
because the digital lines,
the digital highway,
There
you go.
How are you feeling,
digital highway.
I know that you're still recovering, still quarantining.
I'm still isolated, for God's sake. I am sick and tired of looking at these four walls. It feels like I'm in jail. I guess if you know, not to minimize it, but if this is what jail feels like. No, I'm good. I'm good. You know,
yeah, I don't think anybody wants to experience being isolated in a small little cell like you are, sort of, while they're wearing the same Jets hoodie every day.
There you go. Well, at least, hey, listen, I get to wear my fandom shamelessly. You know what I'm saying?
It's all good. Green, such an ugly green.
Look at this. Come on, I'm gonna put it right up to the camera. Look at it.
That's disgusting.
Look at it.
Oh God,
that's beautiful.
Can it be more beautiful? Muted like the team that's being represented. Ugh, disgusting.
Listen. I'm in a happy place with the Jets right now. So
we're gonna talk football a little bit later. We're actually gonna start with some basketball today. Got a lot of news that's happened over the week and over the weekend. Taking a little bit of a break from the Super Bowl chase. You know, got a little bit of a weekend off. We had the Pro Bowl and the Senior Bowl, which we're going to talk about as well. But we're going to talk a little bit of basketball because there's a lot of stuff going on with basketball, being that the trade deadline is just in a few days. Today is the 7th, and the trade deadline is in 3 days on February 10th. And there's a lot of interesting news happening, some stuff that has already happened. But before we get into that, we're going to get started with the Randle Report.
The what?
The Randle Report.
The what?
The Randle Report.
The Randle Report.
Now, this one's going to be a little bit interesting. Usually we do the Randle Report towards the end of the podcast. You know, it's kind of like getting your report card at the end of the day, but we're going to start with the report card today. It's a bit interesting. This is like, it's very... Today's grade is going to be really interesting. I want to so badly give him even a B-, but I just cannot give him anywhere close to a B. I am going to give him now, despite his performance, because actually his performances haven't been that bad. And arguably he had his best performance of the season so far against the Lakers.
I actually watched that game. I wasn't impressed.
You wasn't impressed? Look up
because
the stats.
You know what, but the stats don't tell the story.
I understand that, which is why I already prefaced it by saying,
most of those points came in the first half.
Understandable.
He struggled.
Understandable.
So
that's absolutely true. But that being said, it doesn't mean like that. Again, this is why I prefaced it with he's not going to get anywhere near a B. And there's a reason for that. It's because I don't think that obviously how the team crumbled in that game, in a sense, I don't even want to say, I do want to kind of say crumbled because they did play very, very well and cohesively in the first half. But let's just look at Randle's stats. In 41 minutes of play, he had 32 points, 16 rebounds, and 7 assists. Those are solid numbers, and I think the most solid numbers that he's had this season. What I don't, think that where I think that the biggest issue in this game specifically came from is just his attitude, man. His attitude on the court, his attitude, towards his teammates, his attitude towards the coaches. Even if he's out there, like, I think right now he's looking at it as, I'm going to go out there and I'm going to do my job, but he's not understanding his job. He thinks his job is just to go out there, get as many points, as many rebounds, as many assists or steals, whatever. Okay. He thinks his numbers are to have good stats. And that's not the case. His job out there is just to be a good team player. You can have crappy numbers as long as you're a facilitator, a good team player, and you're helping the team win and you're leading the team. You don't have to have the highest numbers in the world, but having good numbers can't hide the fact that you're a crappy teammate. And that's kind of where we're at with Julius Randle,
and that was one of the things that I think I texted you on our chat. That little incident that he had, where it was kind of like a microcosm of what you're talking about, because there was a point where he went into the stands and he fell into it, right? And he stood there for a bit. And I think one of the players, was it Burks or whatever? He went up to him with both hands to try and help him up. And he totally disregarded him and just kind of almost gave him the shoulder and walked away. And that, come on, you know what if a teammate comes up to you and offers you a hand to get up, you take it. That's just what a good teammate does and stuff.
It's part of it, it's to show, like, it's not just to show that, of course you can get up on your own. If you're an athlete, you should be able to, but it's a team effort thing. It's to give your teammate the opportunity to have your back, and it's to show that you're willing to accept the help. It's more of a symbol of a cohesive team unit, and we just don't have that now. Despite the fact that he had every game he was in the double digits. I think the lowest scoring game was 17 points, but he had good stats this week. He just still has like this super crappy attitude, almost like he wants to get traded, or maybe he doesn't want to get traded, but he at least feels like something's definitely happened. Maybe they spoke to him or something. I don't know, but there's this other thing that happened on the sidelines too. One of the assistant coaches comes up to him during a break in action and is trying to like point to the screen like, hey, like, this, that, or the third. I assume that he was trying to give him some coaching advice, as an assistant coach or any of the coaches should do. It's their job. And he blows up at him and kind of makes it seem like, hey, you don't tell me what to do. I do whatever I want. That's what it felt like. That's what it seemed like. You can find the video. It was a fan video. It's not something that's on any of the broadcast media out there. Right. You can find it. And that's a perfect example, man, like of someone that doesn't want to be part of the organization or just part of the team. Maybe this is just how he is. But we're talking about somebody that isn't willing to accept the help and therefore should not be a part of the team. He needs to be out of here. I said this before, that I think that he needs to actually take a break, an actually legitimate break, find a center, because it's not like he's doesn't have talent, and it's not like he can't lead. I mean, he had a remarkable year last year in leading the franchise, leading the team, being a leader on the court, being a hustler, being coachable, playing well, playing being a facilitator when he wasn't playing well. It's like Jekyll and Hyde here, and I don't understand how we got there. To be honest with you,
well,
I really don't understand how we got there.
Like I said, Julius Randle has had a rough 1.5 months and whatnot. And I think, like I said, I keep looking at that incident with the fans as kind of like the beginning of the end for him. He is just, his body language, his demeanor with the coaches and the teammates. Like you said, it suggests that he just doesn't want to be here. And you know what? The problem with the Knicks is that they can't really trade him right now because he has no value at this point. He comes across as a sourpuss in terms of a player, and his stats haven't really been that great. It's Jekyll and Hyde the whole way. It's up and down here and there. There's no consistency. So it's going to be difficult for them to get rid of him. But eventually his time in New York is up, and he probably does need a change of scenery.
The other thing too is that there's kind of like, I have like this idea, this conspiracy almost, you could say, like a conspiracy thought, if you will. Let's call this the Randle conspiracy corner now.
Oh boy.
What if he knew, or what if he was told that he's like maybe possibly getting traded, and he's like tanking his own persona just to make himself untradeable until after the deadline?
Yeah, but you know what? That kind of defeats the purpose, because you know what? It's clear the fans don't want him here. He's already burned that bridge, right?
Right.
And if you're tanking on purpose, what's your end game here? Because I would tend to think that if you want to leave, you want to show your prospective team that's upcoming, hey, I'm valuable. And you're going to want to go to a good team.
But what if he doesn't want to leave? And he doesn't
then,
like the
then
idea?
He's ridiculous, though.
What if he doesn't want to leave? No, think about this. What if he doesn't want to leave?
He's a masochist at this point, right?
Look. All right, look. If he doesn't want to leave, for example, if someone tells me like, hey man, like, they're talking about possibly trading you because they don't think it's working out, and you're like, man, I don't want to leave. I really don't want to leave the Knicks. I just got this deal. This deal hasn't even started. I don't want to leave. But what powers?
Then play like you don't want to leave.
No. What powers do you have? Think about it. If you play like you don't want to leave, then that just makes you more valuable as a trade asset.
Or
if
you can look at it the other way.
If you know that by playing better, it makes you more likable to other teams, then now you're only making it easier for the Knicks to trade you.
Right, but then if you tank, you lose minutes. Right?
But the thing is, we're seeing
that guys like Mitchell. I know, but what I'm saying,
he played 42.
Guys like Mitchell Robinson will take more of his minutes if he continues down this path. You know what I'm saying? If you're saying the reason that he's tanking,
Mitchell Robinson, as much as I like him as a player, he's not producing. And as crappy as Randle's playing, he's not producing. He's still not producing the way that Randle.
I agree. I agree. But at some point, you got to sit Randle down if he's not producing the way you think he should be producing, right? You don't continue to run him out there. You don't continue to run him out there, and he's getting 7 points here in one game and then 10 the next, and hope that you get the 23, 30-point game. At some point, Thibodeau is going to be like, well, you know what? He's too inconsistent. I got to look at other guys and see if they can step up.
That's true, but I don't think that's Thibs' play. Thibs, he for as bad as Randle's been playing, as bad as Randle's been as a team, as an asset to the team, which he hasn't been, Thibs isn't taking away any minutes whatsoever, and he's not even changing his structure, which calls into question to me like his strategy. Thibs' strategy. But then at the same time, if he doesn't have anybody else to run the offense through, which I think it should be RJ Barrett, but it's still not. RJ Barrett is still playing second fiddle to Julius Randle.
I don't know why.
Maybe Thibs is just trying to force Randle. Maybe he sees something where he's trying to make it happen, because clearly, again, it's not like they can't play good when they do play good. It's not like they don't have the formula for success under Thibs. I just think that some of the players crack, and if the players are cracking, Thibs can't really do anything about that. All he can do is try to fix the crack. Maybe he's trying to fix the crack by forcing him out there on the field. Again, he had a pretty good week last week. If he wasn't such a crappy media person, if he wasn't ordering food during while taking questions, if he wasn't ignoring reporters, if he wasn't doing this stuff with the team players and stuff with the teammates, like all these blowups on the court, staying away from the huddle, things like that. If he wasn't doing that stuff, I would say he had an A this week. Being a team player, having good scores, good stats for the week, having getting the team did not get the wins, but they performed well enough to be like, all right, there's a light at the end of the tunnel. You know what I mean? We didn't have any of that. All we had was
one game.
Yeah, I know exactly
in the last week.
So because of that, I cannot give him anything more than a D+ based on his stats. That's it. Because we still need players that can play, that can put up those numbers. You know what I mean? And
it's
if we can get more of those numbers, it makes his value a little bit higher, making it easier to trade. I hope something happens in the next couple of days, but I don't think anything's actually going to happen. What do you think?
I don't know. But let's transition away from Randle and talk about the Knicks in general here. Because one thing, first of all, I want to mention two things. First of all, Barrett has been sensational of late. The game against the Lakers, you can see at the very end of the game how he took that game over. He had a spectacular dunk over both Anthony Davis and Russell Westbrook at the very end of the game, and his three tied it.
Yes,
and so he's really stepped up his game.
If I'm not mistaken, he was 4 of 10 from the 3-point line, but he had that last three that was a game winner. Not a game winner, but it was a high impact three. It was one that mattered. It's not always about hitting every single 3-point. If when it matters, if when you have to be clutch, you're not clutch. Being clutch is the most important attribute that you can have as a player. And he was clutch.
One interesting stat that I find that gives me a lot of hope, and I've been really high on RJ Barrett. I think a little bit more than you are, but
I'm high on RJ Barrett. I definitely think I absolutely. I just don't want to. And we had kind of this conversation previously. I am afraid that by putting him in charge, making him the front man, I think that it's a little too early to put him in charge of leading the Knicks, where he could potentially crumble. I think that he's still developing.
I don't think he would, though.
I think that he's still developing as a leader, and I'm just worried. Call me jaded, but I'm just worried that we're gonna have an issue like we had with Porzingis and Randle, where like, all right, you're gonna be the face of the team, and then he ends up not being able to handle the pressure, and then he cracks and wants to get out.
Yeah, but I don't think you're gonna get that with RJ Barrett, because he did come from a very well established college program in Duke. So, he's used to this pressure. And if you tell me that he can't handle the pressure and you need to kind of string him along here, then you know what? He's not the type of guy that we need in New York then. You're already saying it right there. Guys that are in New York have to know how to handle the pressure.
That's
true. Think he's done it well. And he's done it well.
Yeah, he's also done it under the shadow of all the issues that Randle and the Knicks overall are dealing with. So yeah, he's handling the pressure of New York, but he's also not the biggest story. It's really easy to kind of like look good when everyone else looks real bad.
I still think no
one's coming to him with the hard questions.
Here's the thing that gives me a lot of hope for this kid, because you know what? He is at this point in the season, NBA players that are 21 and younger, he has the most 30-point games out of all of in the entire class. He's got 6 so far this season. And that, again, playing second fiddle to Julius Randle. So I think, there's a lot of hope there, and you see his maturity and you see how he's working on his game. And he did with the Lakers, what I have seen other teams do against the Knicks, particularly in this past week. I saw it with LeBron. I saw it with Giannis. The difference between those teams obviously is Giannis and LeBron, right? But again, the difference between those teams is that those teams have a guy that when it comes crunch time, you give them the ball, they're going to step up. And I'm kind of starting to see that with RJ Barrett.
They're clutch. He's clutch. I'm not saying that he's not clutch.
Yeah, and I'm starting to see that with RJ Barrett, and that's why I have a lot of hope for this kid, because you know what? When he played that Laker game, I looked at it and I said, you know what? This is a guy that could probably lead us for the next couple of years, maybe 5-10 years and whatnot.
I think so too.
Looks like he's developing into that player.
Exactly. But see, keyword, developing. I want him to finish developing before he.
But put him out there. Put him out there. You got to put him out.
You know what I want to see? I want to see Cam Reddish on there. I want to see what I want to see what the RJ Barrett Cam Reddish duo can do.
You're never going to see it. And that's the second thing that I was going to bring up, because Cam Reddish, if you notice, hasn't played at all.
I know that he hasn't. I know that, but
there's a reason why.
Why?
There's a reason why.
Why?
Tibbs doesn't want him on the team.
No.
Tibbs does not want him on this team. There's a report today in the New York Post where they have inside source, and again, of course, with inside sources, you take with a grain of salt, right? But the actions kind of lended some credence to this report that he did not want Cam Reddish on the team, and Leon Rose made the deal anyway. Like, he had already input and said, I don't need him on the team. I don't have a spot for him on the team, which that's the case. There's too many players that play the same way Cam Reddish does. So for Cam Reddish to play, they need to move one of those players. He's not getting any play time. He hasn't played in like 3 or 4 games.
Yeah, no, I know that.
Listen, I gotta believe what this report says, man. Because you know what? If this report says Tibbs doesn't want him, and Tibbs is finding no way to put him on the court, I mean, if it walks like a duck, if it talks like a duck, you know what I'm saying?
When the trade happened, I didn't like the fact that we got rid of Knox. I like the idea of getting
Knox, but Knox wasn't doing anything here. Knox
wasn't doing anything. He wasn't doing much. But I think that what he was doing, when he could do, he was doing it. He was doing well enough to be a good piece of the puzzle. And maybe Thibs was developing him, and he didn't want to get rid of him because he wanted to keep developing him, because Thibs is notorious for developing you before he really, really puts you out there, before he really tries to put some offense on your shoulders and stuff. Maybe that's why he keeps Randle out there, because he feels like he's sort of in a way molded Randle in a certain way, and maybe that's what he was doing with Knox. This is a notorious thing about Thibs, that like you have to earn the minutes on the floor, off the floor, out of game. And so
it's funny you mentioned that, because his father was actually asking, he's quoted in one of these articles, and he's asking why Tibbs didn't give minutes to my son. And he questioned that out loud, and he was like, that's a great question for Tom Thibodeau. I think we turned the corner. Everybody could see the progression of a young Kevin Knox, where he really wasn't a defensive liability.
Yeah.
But it's interesting. Kevin Knox got traded to Atlanta. He hasn't played a minute. He hasn't played. So these two teams traded these two players I think not to play them. It's the craziest thing.
Well, I think that the main reason is, obviously, I guess Leon Rose wanted Cam Reddish, but I think it was mainly for that first round pick that they got also.
I agree. Yeah, but you know what?
Trade more than anything. But I also think that
Cam Reddish isn't a. He's not a bum here. He could probably play. You got to just put him out there.
But I think that there's going to be some trades that are happening. I don't think Randle is going anywhere as much as I want, but I think that trades are happening. I think Kemba Walker is going to be gone. I think Burks is probably going to be gone. At the very least, Kemba Walker is going to be gone. If Kemba Walker is gone, I think we're going to see Reddish on the floor.
Who gets Kemba though? Like Kemba's another guy. Kemba's another guy that really, his play has declined in the last couple of years.
I understand that. I understand that. But again, like,
where does it go?
He goes to any team that is also trying to rebuild because all they want is picks. They'll take Kemba if it means they also get a pick.
But we don't want to give up.
I know. But if we're in rebuild, you rebuild by keeping some picks, but also getting some pieces, some younger pieces that can be developed into potential tradable options also. But we'll see what happens before the deadline. There's one more thing that could happen before the deadline, and that's Harden getting moved. Do you think that's happening?
No.
Neither do I. And the story
only for the reason because
Nets suck.
Yeah.
Well, the Knicks do suck also.
Only because Steve Nash has already said he's not training James Harden.
Yeah.
And why would you at this point? Because you're missing Durant. Kyrie is basically a part-time player for you. Yeah. Why would you get rid of Harden at this point? It wouldn't make sense anyway. So I don't think Harden's going anywhere. Harden's here at least for the foreseeable future. Maybe when those guys get back, then you start thinking about that. But right now, he's a commodity that you need. And listen, they need help because they've lost 8 in a row so far.
Yeah. No, they have been on a downward spiral. They have been. They look terrible out there.
And I kind of thought that was happened because you know what, you're missing Durant, and like I said, Kyrie Irving's a part-time player, so how are you going to get those minutes? Where are you going to get those points from?
Yeah, no, for sure.
So,
I mean, but yeah, I don't think that Harden's getting moved, but I think that this is karma for the Nets that really, really wanted him. When Harden was doing everything that he was doing in the Rockets to get out, getting fat, playing crappy, talking the way that he did, basically being Julius Randle. I said, if you guys really want Harden, you guys think that you're getting the big three and you're getting like you're the super team and this, that, and the third. Okay. As badly as you want, I would never want, I don't care how good of a player he is, I would never want somebody with that kind of attitude on my team because he's going to do the same thing on my team. And guess what? Yeah. He's doing it not even, a year and a half into being part of the Nets? A year and a half, he's already playing. This is the second season.
Two guys like that. No, but you got two guys that are doing that. You know what I'm saying?
Well, I don't think Kyrie's trying to get out. I don't think that Kyrie's just
no. Right, exactly.
Yeah. I don't think Kyrie's just being Kyrie. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think Kyrie's trying to get moved. Harden wants to leave.
No,
he hates being here in New York. He's talking about missing Houston, missing the weather, missing the taxes. That he didn't have to pay over there and stuff like that. Because if you're getting paid $100 million, New York taxes versus Texas taxes, that's we're talking about a difference of like $20 million that you get to keep, and that's a lot.
Yeah.
So I get it, but then you shouldn't have been so greedy, wanting a chip so bad that you needed to be part of the big three over here, and then you still don't get the chip, and then now you realize, oh, maybe I won't get a chip with this team. I want my taxes back.
So are we at the point that we're getting close to saying that the Nets are probably going to be one of the biggest disappointments in probably New York history? Because this team was built specifically to win a championship, and they are nowhere near that. They're nowhere near that.
No,
if
absolutely.
anything, they're going the opposite direction.
I don't think that they'll get out of the first round this year, for sure.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. Imagine, what would be the worst nightmare for the Nets? Having to face the Knicks in the first round. Think about that. No, think about that. What does that mean? That means Kyrie does not step on the floor for the entire series.
Game. Yeah, that would be amazing. That would be the most amazing karmic retribution.
I am rooting for that so bad. You know what I'm saying?
Oh my goodness!
That would be incredible.
Could you imagine? But that won't happen.
Oh my gosh.
That won't happen because they would have to be 5-6, and they won't. There's no way that they'll be 5-6. No way.
Yeah, and I don't think
if the Knicks make it to the playoffs, which they can, because as bad as their record is, they're only single digit games behind making the playoffs, and there's still plenty of games to make it. We haven't even hit the it's of course, but with that being said, I don't think that would happen as much as I think that would be amazing.
That would be awesome, though.
Yeah,
that would be awesome. So, he can look for his plant-based vaccine somewhere else at that point. So
yeah. So
anyway,
I think that does it for basketball for now. Let's move on a little bit now to football. And you were talking before we started recording, rather. Well, before we started working, because this is work. This is fun work.
Yeah, absolutely.
The Senior Bowl and how that correlates to the Jets.
Yes, it's funny. The reason I'm not a big college football guy. I'm really not. I only start paying attention to college football players when it comes to this time of the year, because we're 2 months away from the NFL draft, give or take.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Right. The draft is in April.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So we're right there. The combine, God forbid. The combine is what, next month? So, we're now getting into that. And this is the part where I get excited, because now you start looking at all these players, and maybe I should start watching a little bit more college football. But for me, college football, I can't really get my hands around it, because there are too many of these.
There's just too much going on.
There's a lot of gimmick offenses and things of that nature.
It's fun to watch. March Madness. No, March Madness. I'm thinking basketball.
Hey,
I'm thinking basketball. No, college football is fun to watch. You know what I mean? Because that's where we get to see all the crazy stuff that you can't, because it's a combination.
Right, exactly.
It's a combination of crazy and weird schemes, and then a level disparity, right? Because if you have NFL level players playing against people that are subpar or just entry level novice freshman college football players, you're gonna see some amazing stuff, only because they're not there. It's NFL quality players doing it against your local guys. You know what I mean?
Right, exactly. I mean, there's too many of the 56-7 type games, in college football and stuff, Yes. And every once in a while, when you get the ranked teams, that's when you get the good games. But like I said, I've never found, as much of a football fan as I am, I've never really found a way to kind of jump into college football. But that being said, around this time that's when I start looking at the players, and it's fun to kind of guesstimate where players are going to land, who your team is going to draft and stuff like that. And so this year I watched the Senior Bowl, and I had a vested interest because
can you explain to me a little bit can you explain to me a little bit more of the Senior Bowl itself? Because to be honest with you, I didn't even know it was a thing.
Oh yeah, definitely. It's so basically there were two events this week. Earlier in the week, I think it was last week Wednesday, you had the East versus West game, right? And then you had the Senior Bowl, which happened, later on. I think it was either Friday or Saturday. I can't remember which one it was at this point. They're basically the college all-star games, okay? But the Senior Bowl has a little bit more name recognition to it, only because the East versus West, they've kind of relaxed, their admission into the game. So a lot of the players look at the Senior Bowl as the bowl to be in, because that's the one that has the most eyes on it. So
right,
the
because
Senior Bowl,
it's like a scouting. It's a scouting game,
right? Exactly. And I was particularly interested this year because the Jets staff was the ones that were coaching up the national team. They were going up against
okay.
Oh my God, who were they going up against? They were going up against Detroit. The Detroit staff. Right.
Dang, that's pretty
cool.
So
Robert Saleh was there. He wasn't coaching. The coach was Ron Middleton, who personally for me, he should really start, people really should start taking notice of this guy in terms of head coaching opportunities, because he is energetic. He knows football, and everybody that that talks about him, it has glowing praises for the guy. And he's now 2-0 because he coached the Jets when Robert Saleh was off with COVID, and they beat the Jaguars.
Right.
And now he just had this game where he was showered not only with Reese's Pieces, but with Gatorade at the end of the game.
Oh,
okay.
I'm gonna have to go back and take a look at least at the highlights of this game.
Well, it was a very defensive effort, which kind of makes sense because you know what, the defense usually has more of a leg up very early in the season, especially with offenses. And you just think of it this way: offenses are very complicated and stuff. And you know, these kids are coming in. The Jets and the Detroit staff, they're giving them professional, you know, playbooks and stuff. So there's a lot that they have to learn just to get ready on the spot. And this is a good way for coaches, people who are there, to kind of see, you know, the mental acumen that these players have, you know.
Right.
Some of the standouts were Kenny Pickett and Desmond Ridder, two quarterbacks that are, you know, this isn't a quarterback class, but if you're going to talk quarterbacks, those guys are generally 1-2 in this year's draft.
Okay.
You know, but they had
I wonder
very
if the Giants
good.
are going to take a quarterback, just have like a backup, because we don't have a backup.
Yeah, I know you need, but you know what? You should really be looking toward getting a veteran,
right?
Probably in the room.
Yeah, I
you know,
definitely think I think there's no question about him.
I think you do need that. I don't know if you necessarily.
Is Flacco still looking for a job?
Yeah, you can have him. You know, I don't need him. So, but yeah, there was a couple of. So the game was a defensive game. It was 20-10. I believe that's what the score was, and there was a couple of guys there that I was looking at, you know, in terms of Jets focus. Right?
But all right, just because the Jets are coaching doesn't mean they're gonna this is gonna be our scouting game. And
we're no.
You think that they're gonna do that? You think that that's what's gonna happen, or is that just wishful thinking on your part?
Well, I think there are some guys that were there.
Is that just the typical Jets prayers?
No. Because remember, the Jets have four picks in the first 40.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so they're gonna have the opportunity to get some of these guys. And I guess what you have to say is this, you know, they have kind of a leg up in terms of everybody else because they've gotten an entire week with them, looking at their work habits, looking at, you know, how well they read a playbook, looking at, you know, how well they work together with others and stuff like that. So while I'm not necessarily saying that there's going to be players there that they're definitely going to take, but they have there's some guys there that you hear draft Knicks and they're saying, you know what, he's attached to the Jets. He's a guy that probably is going to go to the Jets. You had 3 tight ends there that I'm pretty certain one of them is going to go to the Jets. You had Trey McBride, you had Jeremy Ruckert, and you had this guy Ferguson, and they all really played well in the game. Jeremy Ruckert is the guy that I think most Jet fans want because he's already said, I was a Jet fan growing up. And this guy is 6'5", 250 pounds. He is a guy
when did he say this? When did he say this?
This was way before this. No, this is way before. I mean, the guy grew up in Lindenhurst.
All this sounds a little bit too good to be true.
No. This guy he grew up in Lindenhurst, New Jersey. He's right there. You know what I'm saying?
Who did the Jets pay to have essentially their own scouting?
Oh, come on.
Their own scouting game with the first first 40? Come on.
That usually happens with the Senior Bowl. I think what they do is they take the lower rung,
the 2 worst teams.
Right, exactly.
Even though the Jets aren't technically the worst team.
It's split between the East and the West game and the Senior Bowl. Okay. So the worst 4 teams get to coach those 2 games, you know. So it's kind of like a little
Robert
cherry on top.
Robert Saleh was paid to tank this season just so they could have this scouting game for next year's picks.
We're going to talk about that a little bit later. You know what I'm saying? But
I believe it. I guarantee you.
But there are some guys there that really made a name for themselves, the quarterbacks particularly. And like I said, quarterbacks really, this is not a quarterback class, but there are at least 3 or 4 guys that were in this thing that kind of showed out a little bit. You had Kenny Pickett. He's kind of like, if there is a consensus for a number one quarterback, he's probably the guy.
Okay.
And you know what? He didn't do anything to hurt his stock because he went 6 for 6 for 89 yards and a touchdown pass, So, and he might be a guy that ends up with the Panthers because, their general manager has already talked about him, about his arm strength and his competitiveness, So, the problem with him is this.
What?
He's got small hands.
He's got small hands?
He's got small hands. He wears gloves all the time. He's got small hands. And that could probably be a thing because in 52 college games, he's fumbled 38 times.
Whoa.
So there is a thing there, but
and that's without NFL
past
pressure.
That stuff, right, exactly.
Without NFL pressure.
So like I said, this is not a great quarterback class, but he's the best out of the best. Him and Desmond Ridder are kind of like 1 and 2, and they're interchangeable in that, Desmond Ridder comes from Cincinnati, and, he pretty much did what he needed to do. He's a guy that could push the ball downfield. He's smart with the ball and stuff like that. He might go to the Broncos. Who knows? If the Broncos can't land Aaron Rodgers, he might be, and even if they do land Aaron Rodgers, he might go over there because he's a guy that probably
Aaron is going to play forever.
Yeah, I know. So he's a guy that they could take, and he can sit and learn from Rodgers, which would be an amazing experience for him. The guy that I think may have helped his stock the most in terms of quarterback is a guy from Liberty University. Which
where?
Probably nobody's ever heard of him, but the kid's name is Malik Willis. He didn't have a great game passing wise, but the man can run. He's one of these guys. Yeah, he's one of these guys that if you develop him right, maybe he becomes a Lamar Jackson. Maybe. But he's got to go to the right place. He's got to have the right coaching staff, and he's going to have to sit for a couple of years. But his athletic ability was really on show during that game. So, you had those guys. One guy I do want to mention because he's been getting all the social media love, and the guy just seems to be completely nasty. That's the guy from Northern Iowa, Trevor Pennington. He's an offensive tackle. Mm-hmm. He became a social media star overnight during this week because
what's his name?
If you go Trevor Penning.
Penning or
Trevor
Petting?
Penning. Penning.
Another Trevor.
Look him up on social media, and he is literally just throwing defensive linemen all over the place. Like he's one of those offensive lineman guys that has a real nasty streak to him, I'm
calling it now. When the Giants grab him.
He might not be a bad fit for you guys. He is.
I know 6'7". We're rebuilding our offensive line.
He'd be perfect. He is 6'7", 330 pounds. That's a big fatty right there that you put in there, and just let him run. And let him go after these defensive tackles and these defensive linemen, because he was getting in fights all week because the defensive lineman did not appreciate how he was manhandling them. So he's kind of become he's kind of become a social media darling, So he is a guy that you will have to work with because as nasty as he is, he does have some tendencies where he kind of stands up straight during pass protection.
We'll take him.
So, he's going to have to learn to drop down a level a little bit. But those are things that you can definitely teach. And with the guy with this kind of nasty streak,
this guy is huge.
And the fact that he's huge, he's a guy that probably will be on your line for quite a bit. So
he looks mean. I like him. He looks like a G-man already.
Those are guys.
I like him.
There you go.
Let me follow him.
So
maybe if I follow him, he'll come to the Giants.
Oh, listen, send him a DM. Say, come to the Giants, please. We need you, please.
Speaking of the Giants and everything else that's going on, what are we doing over here in New York?
With the Giants?
With the Giants and a certain lawsuit that's going on in the NFL, and
they're in this really, really weird place right now, man. And you know what? I kind of
whose side are you on right now?
It's Brian Flores all the way.
All the way.
I believe.
But no. All right, no. I'm not picking a side against Brian Flores, but I'm talking specifically the Giants and the Brian Flores timeline of events and the whole thing going on with Bill Belichick. Just that angle of the story, because we're going to talk about all the grander scandal, and all, but I want to talk about this one thing first.
The Giants. I'm sorry, man. That smells funny to me. That really,
I know
really
it smells
does.
funny. I know it smells funny, but Bill Belichick sent the text before there was even an interview with Dable.
But the problem is he sent it even before Brian Flores went there.
I understand that.
You know
he
what I'm
sent
saying?
It before Brian Flores, but he also sent it before Dable even got an interview. There's how they couldn't have made him an offer before they had an interview with him. I don't think the Giants
right, but stupid. You got who is it? Joe Shine?
Joe Shane.
That's your GM?
Yeah,
Joe Shane?
Yeah.
Joe Shane. He's your guy. He comes from Buffalo, man.
I understand that. I mean 100%.
The ties are strong there. You know what I'm saying?
I understand that 100%. I guarantee you that Joe Shane was probably like, "Hey, Dable, I really want you here. You're just gonna need to go through the interview process, and then from there, like, we'll take it and stuff like that." That is something that happens, I think, all the time. People want to work with the people that they want to work with, especially if they have a history with them. You know what I mean? That doesn't mean
fine.
Right.
That's
exactly.
Fine.
I don't think there's anything wrong with that. That doesn't mean that the Giants made an offer
It's a really bad look. I mean,
it is a bad look. It's absolutely a bad look.
Optics is everything, man.
Yeah.
Optics is everything. And when you look at how this thing went down, good, bad, or indifferent, the Giants do not come out looking good on this.
They don't come out looking great. Sure, I understand that, but
regardless of what their reasons are,
I think the majority of the people will see that, like, okay, like, yeah, it sucks that this happened, but did you really think that? I didn't even think that, like, this wasn't going to happen. When Joe Shane was because obviously we had coaching prospects beforehand with Dable on the line and Flores and what have you. But the moment that Joe Shane was announced as the GM, it was pretty much like a done deal that he's going to bring his guys. That's what he's going to do. There's no question about it. Everything was just a formality. Even Dable's interview was probably just a formality. And the thing is that I think that the general public doesn't think there's anything wrong with Joe Shane wanting to work with Dable. Now, if there was an offer made, if there was an actual offer made to Dable before Flores got the interview, yeah, now they messed up for real. Now they truly interviewed without any intention, because that means that they did the whole circus, even though there was already money being offered and papers ready to be signed for someone else.
But you're still saying the same thing, because they did the interview without any intention.
No. The difference is that Joe Shane is he wants Dable. He tells Dable, "Hey, I want you here in New York," but Dable still needs to convince Mara and the rest of the Giants organization. Doing the interviews is still a chance for Flores to convince the ownership and convince the organization to tell Joe Shane, "Nah, we want this guy."
I don't think that was going to happen, though.
I don't think that was going to happen, but it's still a chance, and that's what the interviews are there for, anyway. Because otherwise, why does Dable have to interview in the first place? Then there's no point in him going to the interview. Then,
well, you do it because of the Rooney Rule, right? The Rooney Rule
even
says
if the Rooney
you
Rule
have
wasn't
to.
there, even if the Rooney Rule wasn't there, Dable still would have had to interview because the rest of the organization still needs to see him and meet him, and maybe they see something they don't like and they tell Shane that, you know, you're the GM, I want you to do this, that, and the third, but I don't want that guy. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think it's a different thing though this year, because you know what? Now they're actually letting the GM do his thing.
Right.
So the GM really has the ultimate say on who he wants
That's
there.
absolutely true. I
So,
understand that. But what I'm saying is that, like, I think, and I don't think that I would say that 99%, I don't want to speak for all the Giants fans, but I don't think that Giants fans in general are perturbed by what happened. That's what I'm trying to say. And overall, it doesn't necessarily hurt the Giants what's going on.
But
It's not a good picture.
You're looking at that in a football sense, you know, and I think if you look at it in that lens, you're right. I think Giants fans are happy with the Dayball thing. I think if you look at it in a societal sense, that's where it changes.
Well, but that's what I'm saying though. Even from a society, I'm talking about a societal thing. I don't think that Giants fans, even from a societal perspective, they like, obviously we all think that what happened to Flores,
the problem.
I think
that's the
like
problem.
we think that what happened to Flores sucks and it should have never happened. You know what I mean? But I don't think that Giants fans also look at it as like the Giants did anything specifically wrong.
I guess, but you know what?
It's kind of a crappy situation that, like, you know, we had to do this. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know, but like I said again, it's not. We shouldn't be talking about this in football terms. We should be talking about this in societal terms.
100%.
Because that's what the problem is. You look at the landscape now in the NFL, where, you know, not for nothing, 70% of the players are black. You have one black coach. If you want to expand that, you have 3 minority coaches, being Tom Zach, no, not Tom Zach.
Robert Saleh, Mike
Tomlin, and Ron Rivera.
Yeah.
Those are your 3.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know what I'm saying?
That.
And it's funny because I was watching the NBA cast, and both Shaq and Barkley were kind of ragging on the NFL because there's more diversity and there's more there's more of that in the NBA than there is in the NFL. The NFL is struggling and has struggled with this for years.
But you know, I want to mention something that Tiki said, that Tiki mentioned, that I heard Tiki say, where he wasn't by any means necessarily defending what's happening in any way, but he's making a point.
I know what you're saying.
He made a point that the you know, like the positions on the field where you get a chance to learn communication skills, leadership skills, and so on and so forth, things that lend towards coaching and managing and stuff like that. Those positions are few and far between as far as the overall game is played. That's quarterback. Tight end is becoming that position, and possibly even lineman. And a few other scattered positions. So when it comes to, and the thing is that those positions have, you know, over the history of the NFL, have been predominantly white. Only in recent years have some of those positions been a little bit more targeted toward minority athletes. But that's kind of where that starts getting developed, right? Where they start developing the idea, the mentality of coaching, and so on and so forth. And Tiki made the point that if that's where it starts, that's where we need to make the change. Because, you know, when it does come to like hiring the most qualified, the pool of qualified people is just not that great. So you're not going to pull out a head coach. You're not going to pull out like a minority head coach out of thin air if they haven't had time in the game in specific positions with experience that create the coaching mentality. You know, like quarterback is like the majority of coaches have experience as quarterbacks or tight ends.
John Gruden.
I said the majority. I didn't say all. Right.
I know, but my point is this. So here's my counterpoint to that. And I hope I don't. I'm just gonna say it like it is because I keep it 100 and whatnot. The majority of the football owners are older white men.
100%.
That is, and if you look at some of the interviews, I saw an interview not too long ago with I forget who the newscaster is, but he was interviewing one of these owners. And he blatantly flat out said, you know what? Well, the reason we don't hire black people or people of minorities is because, you know what? They can't handle it. They're not smart enough. And the correspondent was like, well, that's about as racist as you can get. But you know what? That mentality permeates. And that it's not only that it starts from there, it starts from a young age because you know what? People are conditioned, like you said, quarterbacks have to be white,
Right.
Linemen, they're white. The big chubby white kid and whatnot, he's got to be a lineman. And it starts at Pop Warner. So these kids who may be talented enough, kids like the Lamar Jacksons of the world, who are talented enough to become a quarterback, they are instantly at a young age told you can't do that because you're not white.
Right, exactly.
You're a quarterback. And that's where it all starts. And so it continues, So it's a societal issue. But it's not only systemic to the NFL, it permeates from all the way to Pop Warners and stuff like that.
It permeates through everything. But that's exactly, we agree because that's what I'm trying to say. I'm not trying to say that like, okay, yeah, the all the owners, because the only team I think that has like any kind of minority inclusion is really the of all the teams, isn't it? The Dolphins, or no, the Jaguars. Who is it that Serena Williams is a part of, and Jennifer Lopez?
Well,
got like minority. Is it the Dolphins?
The Jaguars owner, he's an Arab. His name is Khan. I forgot what his name is. He's Middle Eastern.
Yeah, but does he have the principal stake? I don't know if he has a principal stake. Well, regardless,
I do believe that he does.
Regardless, the vast majority, I would say 95% of all owners of old white guys. That's one problem that needs to be solved. Absolutely. But you can't tackle the problem from one end of the stick. You got to tackle it from the other end. The other end is that we need to be able to include more people of minority backgrounds in these other more leadership roles at the ground level. So this way, when it comes to, like ascending the ladder, they have the skills. They've developed the skills to be there. There should be absolutely no reason why they can't be coaches. A lot of time people become coaches, like Steve Nash. He became a coach because not just because he's white, but because he had a face. The coach is the face of the team on that side. And
so let me ask you this question.
A lot of times, what they're looking for in a newer coach, assistant coach, or whatever, is someone that was the face of a team on the field to be the face of the team on the coach's side. And that's usually a quarterback, tight end. These guys are usually like the faces. They're the ones on the posters. We get those people we get those positions to change a little bit from being just white guys to minority people. And we're going to see the evolution over time, because it's not going to happen overnight. We're going to see
my thing is this, and this I think is the thing where, you look at, the problems that people have with the hiring practices of the NFL. You have quality coaches out there, such as Todd Bowles, such as Tony Dungy, who probably not the guy that could probably come in, but you've got guys like Herm Edwards. Leslie Frazier is looking for a job. Is he going to get a job? Probably not. You look at Hugh Jackson. You look at Marvin Lewis. You got guys like Lovie Smith. These are guys that maybe have not gotten a chance, got maybe one chance, and you never heard of them again. But yet you look at some of the other coaches that are out there, and they're consistently rethread and put back into the system, regardless of how good their records are. For whatever reason, they always find a way to get a job. And that is damning to the NFL.
That's absolutely true. 100%.
And
I'm with
guys
you there,
like Herm
all
Edwards,
the way to the end.
guys like Herm Edwards, guys like Todd Bowles, guys like Leon Washington, who's another coach that's on the rise. These guys, they may not be quarterbacks, but they've played big roles in defenses.
Right, absolutely. And look, I
defense
agree with
is
you
important.
every way. Yeah, I agree with you every way, every single way. I will ride with you to the edge of the cliff with this one, and I will jump off with you. No question about it. Okay. All I'm saying is that, like, I think that, like, we gotta stop looking at this as, you know, one broad general issue, because you're not going to fix it if you look at it as just one issue.
No,
you know,
it's a systemic,
there's a systemic racism issue.
Right.
There's a systemic racism issue in hiring, or the desire to hire, you know, black head coaches is different from the systemic racism issue of getting, you know, black owners to be in the league, as well as getting all that's also different from getting more black players to be in leadership roles on the field. It's systemic racism, but they're different problems that got to be tackled differently. So I think that we just
and that's why I said, from a football standpoint, looking at it at the Giants, it's a different thing when you look at it from a societal level, and that's where that's where you know, that's where we're talking about, where it's goes beyond just this little piece of the NFL.
Yeah,
it goes grander, it goes deeper, because, like I said, Pop Warner, that's when you start developing your future players, and if you don't get a chance to be one of those players, and they automatically say, well, you know what, you're a wide receiver, oh, you're a defensive back, oh, you're a linebacker,
right,
without even giving the kid a chance who probably has the talent to play a quarterback, a lineman, a wide receiver, whatever it is, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I mean, we'll never know unless
you're
you
starting from there.
unless you give them a shot.
I just can't wait. I can't wait until we get to the point where it's like, you know what, we're just hiring a coach. We don't have to make the distinction where it's like, oh, we're hiring a black coach. We're hiring a woman coach, you know, a female coach. We're just hiring a coach. You know what I'm saying? If we ever get to that point, I think we're good, you know? And that's why, yeah, I know, but that's why I kind of respect Brian Flores here, because I respect
him all the way.
Yeah, and you had mentioned this before, because you had said, "Is this going to damage his career?" Yeah. And it very well might do that, because you've seen what happened with Colin Kaepernick.
Yeah,
Colin Kaepernick is still a guy who probably, he could probably still get a job in this league. You know,
I really want him on the Giants,
and
even as a backup.
Yeah, I know. And see, again, this kind of goes into that whole thing where a guy like Fitzpatrick can go and retread and but you can't bring a guy in like Colin Kaepernick that has that kind of skill. So the same thing that happens with coaches is the same thing that happens with quarterbacks also.
Yeah, absolutely. You know? Like I said, but that's what I'm saying. It's a problem that needs to be tackled from a ton of different angles.
Yes.
Man.
So much props to Brian Flores. And you know what? He's my ride and die guy for this week, because I love the fact that, and listen, this is a guy that's not really established. He hasn't been in the league all that long. You know, he's not a guy that's made millions of dollars playing in the football and the NFL, but he's taking a stand, and I think appropriately so, because you know what? He's forcing people to have these hard discussions, you know, and having these hard talks, and maybe by starting that discourse, that's how you get to change things. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, again, I got, you know, Brian Flores is back. I believe, you know, everything. It's 100% screwed up what happened to him. I hate that it did. It sucks that things panned out the way that it did.
That lawsuit is deep, right?
That lawsuit is deep. I do think that the Giants are going to come out relatively unscathed. I think that the Dolphins have a huge problem there.
Yes, they do. Yes, they do.
I really, really believe that there's going to be an ownership change down there, and it's not looking good for them. It's not looking good for them in any way. Brian Flores is going to get paid, but
he's still in consideration for the. I thought he might have been for the Texas job, but I think within the last day or so,
I think that might have changed.
Yeah, Lovie Smith, I think, is the front runner for that job right now.
Nobody wants to have that kind of attention on their team, and it's not. It sucks because it's unwanted attention, but it's necessary attention that Brian Flores is bringing this limelight to what's going on.
And it also remember we had spoke earlier about those red flags that Brian Flores may have had before we found out about all this stuff.
Yeah.
And it kind of puts all that stuff in a different light right now, right?
Yeah, it does.
Because I had asked you the question, do you want him on your team knowing, the issues that he had with management before we knew any of this stuff, right?
Yeah.
But now it all makes sense.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
I
mean, that was the only hesitation that I had. I chalked it up to him being a New Yorker. And all that before the Joe Shane hire. For me, I wanted Brian Flores just a tad bit more than Dable. I really like Dable just because I love what they did. I love what the Bills have done. I love how the Bills have redesigned their whole everything from every single aspect. The Bills have become a powerhouse team in the last few years, and I've been saying it for a while. They're like, man, I want some of what the Bills have. When Joe Shane got hired, my thoughts immediately changed to well, now I want Dable because I want the guy that's going to work best with him. He already knows the guy. He knows what he wants to do. They already have a communication together. So it kind of flipped where I would be okay with Brian Flores. I didn't think that it was going to happen after Shane got hired. I wanted Dable, and I thought that was what was going to happen after Shane got hired. And it did. It just sucks in the matter that it did, So,
yeah, I know.
Anyway, I want to end this on a lighter note because all this stuff is heavy, and it's necessary for it to be heavy, because if it wasn't heavy, then we wouldn't have to talk about it with such seriousness. But to end it on a high note, 1 week away, less than a week away, 6 days away.
Wait. You forgot about the lighter note.
What's the
Pro Bowl, man?
The Pro Bowl?
The Pro Bowl.
The Pro Bowl didn't happen.
I mean,
Pro Bowl, you mean touch football?
Yeah, exactly. You saw the clip that I sent you, right?
No, I didn't. What clip? Oh, with Deion Sanders? No, that was something I saw. What clip?
I sent you a clip. Go check out our thing. I sent you a clip which highlights what to me the Pro Bowl is. It was literally a screen grab. It's a short little video of some play during the Pro Bowl. So
you sent it, where did you send it?
I sent it on our
I know.
Chat? You gotta our group chat. You gotta go back to keep going. There you go. I did
not see this. Okay, what am I looking at here?
Please watch this.
Okay. What the heck? What?
So the thing that I'm referencing
they don't tackle anymore?
Dude, it got so bad that the referee had to blow the whistle just to stop the play, because literally the guy was going on a crossing route where he had at least 4 or 5 guys with the ability to attack. One guy just stopped in his tracks and let him run right by him. And the ref was like, okay, enough of this nonsense. I'm just going to blow the whistle.
It's not a game. It's an exhibition match. And an exhibition match is where two people are fighting. An exhibition boxing match, for example, they're fighting, but they're not hurting each other. They're not doing it. They're just showing off the skills, which is great. If I wanted to see the skills of you running, I would have seen you. I would have gone and signed it to some track and field.
Would you say McGregor and Sugar Saint?
No. You're thinking about Floyd Mayweather. Floyd Mayweather.
Yes, thank you.
That was a little bit of an exhibition match. Yeah.
That was a
sham match, and they were like, "Yeah, we can do this and make $100 million each because people will eat this up." Just like people tuned in to watch the Pro Bowl, but you watch it, you see it, and you're like, "What am I watching?" And you can't get your eyes off of it, but you don't respect it.
It's 2 levels away from touch football. It really is, and There was no tackling during the game. The game ended up I think like 41-36.
I have no idea because I've never been interested in the Pro Bowl, because for me the Pro Bowl is a lot like the basketball All-Star game. I think that when they make changes,
I would rather watch the basketball All-Star game than watch
so would I,
this.
because
You know what I'm saying?
it's kind of cool to see like crazy dunks and crazy shots and crossovers and things like that, and they have fun and all that. But like, this is a game of violence, unfortunately. When we don't have the violence, then we don't have the game. So,
and listen, I totally understand the reason why the Pro Bowl is played the way the Pro Bowl is, and part of it is that, you know what, some of these guys, they got to play next week, so the last thing they want to do is get hurt,
right? So then those people should bow out. You should have alternates because of that,
or play it after the Super Bowl.
I like playing it right before the Super Bowl if the game meant something, because I want to have like a week to digest.
There.
I want to have a week to digest and like kind of marinate and get ready for the Super Bowl. Like we got a week off of all the conference finals and championships last week, and like, you know, all the craziness that happened. I want to kind of forget about a football a little bit, just so that I can get my mind back into the Super Bowl like we're doing right now. Okay.
Yeah.
I want to now, like, you know what? Like, I haven't been thinking about the Super Bowl, but now that we're close, I haven't. You know, but now that we're close,
tell the truth, I haven't either.
I cannot wait for the Super Bowl this year. I have not been excited for a Super Bowl like this in a long, long time. You picked
the Bengals, right?
I got the Bengals. I'm on the Joe Burrow train.
You're still there, right?
I think he's gonna ice them out.
Okay.
I am a huge fan of Burrow, especially after with all the stuff coming out, you know, all his, like, he has shown himself to be such a leader. This man he's going to be the next great quarterback.
There's a lot of them in the AFC, man.
I know that there are. I'm not saying that he's going to be Tom Brady, but I know that he's going to go down as one of the greatest of all times, just because of how he speaks, his leadership abilities, the way that he looks at the game, the way that he looks at the young prospects and things like that, how cool he is with his teammates, the persona that he has on and off the field. Like, he's just got the entire package. I wish we had him here in New York. God, I wish we had him here in New York.
Well, you could have had him, right? Wasn't that a thing? So, hey, listen, yeah, exactly. It is.
How about you? Are you still excited for the Rams?
I'm still for the Rams. I really do. Like,
how could you not want to be in on the Cinderella story that is the
Bengals? I love it. Hurts me that I have to go against Joe Burrow, because I love him. I love what he's done with the team. He's got 3 excellent receivers that he can throw to and stuff like that. I look at his line and I'm like, you know what? The guy's going to be running for his life all day.
I understand that, and he can still make it happen. Not that he can
side of me.
Not
you know what I'm saying?
Can still make it happen. Is that he still made it happen, even though he got sacked 9 times.
And I'm also
he's like the 50 Cent of football, with his turtleneck and the chain and everything. He's like, I got sacked 9 times.
You saw that?
I got sacked 9 times, and he's still in the Super Bowl. Like, come on, who is this guy?
I also look at it this way: Matt Stafford's ability to get back to this place,
this level, yeah,
this level is, he's got a short window. And if he's going to do it, this is the time for him to do it.
I know.
They brought him here for that.
It hurts me.
And Joe Burrow most likely may have multiple attempts at this.
Yeah.
I see for Stafford. And so with Stafford, what he's gone through, being in Detroit, kind of nobody looking at, nobody trusting him and stuff like that. He's my Cinderella story, because I want him to do it for that. You know what I'm saying? So I'm gonna
I
stay with that.
And I really it hurts me to my core that I have to pick one of these guys. I want both of them.
I know, right?
I truly want both of them to win. But
you can't have a tie in the Super Bowl. Come on now.
The thing is, like, the story, because it's stories, right? Matthew Stafford being down and out, being for the like on the Lions and in Detroit, and kind of like just forgotten about, and now he's in the Super Bowl, and he's playing at his home field. Who wouldn't want to see
and
him
at a high level? and at a high level.
But then you have Joe Burrow. He's the LSU sweetheart. Tears his knee up in his very first season, comes back on one of the teams that nobody believes can really truly ever do anything great, and all of a sudden the Cinderella story of the first week is like, oh my God, we can't believe the Bengals came out of this. Well, it's good that they came out of this and went to the divisional rounds and to the division and the finals and the conference and all that stuff, and now in the Super Bowl. It's just they've been counted out all the way. I want to see them win. I want to see them finish the story.
What was their record? 10-7. They were 10-7.
Really? I guess.
Yeah,
so.
They were 10-7.
Yeah, I guess so.
And they won the AFC North. I think that they're from. The case that I'm making for Stafford, in a weird way, you can also make it for Burrow.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
Because
it's a story
because Burrow, right? He's here. He's at the Super Bowl, but Mahomes is going to be back. That Lamar is lurking out there.
Yeah.
We haven't even spoken about Justin Herbert, right?
Maybe Aaron Rodgers actually makes it back too somehow.
Yeah, I mean, so maybe you could make the same case that I was making for Stafford, that this is his window. You better win it now because you're not guaranteed to get back there with all those guys there too. It goes both ways, man. It goes both ways.
It's just such a remarkable season.
My hope. This is what my hope is. I hope we have a good game. I hope we have a competitive game.
I think that we're gonna.
I hope that it comes down. It comes down to the last minute.
I hope it comes down to another field goal.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh my!
That would cap probably the greatest NFL playoffs that we've ever, at least in my lifetime.
At least in our lifetime, for sure. Possibly in all of history. Oh,
yep.
Anyway,
so
I think that's going to do it for us. Thank you guys so much for listening in, tuning in, and following us. If you do, and if you don't, please go rate, like, share, and subscribe, and follow us on Instagram, Spotify, Apple Music, anywhere that you listen to podcasts. Please go do it. Go do it everywhere. Okay. And
just do it. Do it.
For Walt and myself, thank you guys for checking us out, man.
Later.
Peace.